No. You've probably seen images of it, right? These haunting chants, these incredible masked figures. It can all feel a bit, well, mysterious, almost impenetrable. But today we're going to pull back the curtain, because we're getting the inside story straight from a master.
So in this explainer, we're going to dive deep into this incredible, and I mean incredible, 650-year-old tradition. And the way we're going to do it is by tackling the biggest questions people have about Noh. And we're not just guessing here. We've got insights directly from a professional performer, Mr. Shiotsu Keisuke of the Kita School.
Okay, so let's get right to it. Masks, super slow movements, these ancient-sounding chants. What exactly is Noh theater? You know, when you strip away all that mystery, what are we really looking at? For a lot of us, the first big question mark comes from confusing it with that other really famous Japanese theater.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Kabuki. A lot of people hear traditional Japanese theater and their mind just jumps straight to Kabuki. And hey, they're both absolutely iconic. But the thing is, they are completely different art forms. So, how are they different? Well, it really boils down to three big things. First up, age. Noh is, get this, 650 years old. That's just staggering. Kabuki, on the other hand, is much younger, at about 350 years old. Then there's who they were originally for. Noh actually started as a ritual for the gods, and it was performed for the high class, the elite. Kabuki, that was entertainment for everybody, the general public. And third, and this is the one you'll spot right away, it's all about how they look.
Here's the simplest way to tell them apart. Seriously, just look at the face. If you see an actor wearing one of those incredible carved masks, that's Noh. No question. But if you see that really dramatic painted makeup, it's called kumadori, then you're watching Kabuki. It's the easiest, fastest way to know what you're looking at.
All right, so we've got it. Noh equals masks. Simple enough. But what about those movements? You know, that super deliberate, almost painfully slow pace. Is there some deep, hidden meaning behind every single step? You might be surprised to hear that it's actually less about symbolism and way more about pure skill.
And this comes straight from the master, Mr. Shiatsu, and I think this is just fascinating. He says that the slowness itself doesn't really mean anything special. It's not symbolic. Instead, it's an absolutely essential and incredibly difficult skill for the actor. I mean, just think about it for a second. The stage is basically empty.
Right. There's no fancy set telling you where you are. So an actor walking in a single, slow circle has to make you believe they've just completed a long, hard journey. They have to create the entire world, sunrise, a forest, the sea, with nothing but their body. So that slowness, it's not just for dramatic effect. It's proof of an absolutely immense level of skill.
And this intense focus on technique brings us to what might be the most mind-bending thing about Noh, the way it deals with time and with change.
So here's a question for you. Think about any art form that's been around for 650 years. You'd expect it to change, right? I mean, of course it would. New ideas, new styles, modern takes on old classics. But with Noh, well, the answer is kind of shocking in its simplicity.
Nope. The answer is just no, it hasn't changed. The whole point isn't to reinvent or reinterpret, it's to preserve it perfectly.
The philosophy behind it is all about being a perfect vessel for the tradition. Performers don't see themselves as artists trying to make their mark. They see themselves as custodians. Their one job is to pass the art form down to the next generation exactly as they learned it. It's like this unbroken chain of performance stretching all the way back through the centuries.
But wait, here's where it gets really interesting. Even if the performance itself doesn't change, we do. The audience does. And this is a point Mr. Shiotsu really emphasized. They might be performing it the exact same way they did hundreds of years ago, but the people watching it, their ideas, their world are completely different. So the experience of watching Noh is actually brand new for every single generation.
So that brings up a huge question, right? If something never changes, how do you stop it from just becoming a museum piece, something you look at behind glass? How do you connect it with a modern audience, and especially with younger people?
And that's a massive challenge for sure. A lot of the stories are based on classics that, not everyone is familiar with today. But the performers aren't just letting it fade away. They are actively finding some really creative ways to bridge that huge gap in time.
Now they're super careful not to change the performance itself, but they are completely changing how they talk about it. They're doing special events just for young people. They're using social media to explain who the characters are and what's happening in a scene. They're even looking at new tech, like AI, to see if it can help new audiences connect with these ancient stories. It's this amazing blend of old-school tradition and brand-new technology.
Okay, after hearing all this, you might be thinking, wow, I'd love to see this for myself. But then you might also think, is it even possible? Is it some super rare event that's impossible to get tickets for? Well, the answer might actually surprise you.
Yeah, you'd think for an art form this old and revered, you'd have to get really lucky to even catch a performance. But the truth is, it's pretty much the exact opposite.
It turns out Noh is way more accessible than you'd imagine. Mr. Shiotsu told us there's a performance happening somewhere in Japan literally every weekend. If you're in Tokyo, you've got the National Noh Theater putting on shows 7 or 8 times a month. And his own school, the Kita School, performs on the 4th Sunday of every single month, like clockwork. It's right there just waiting for you.
And that brings us to our final point, which is actually a personal message from the master himself, a direct invitation from him to you.
And that's just such a powerful invitation, isn't it? He's not just saying, go see a show. He's saying, come feel the real atmosphere. He's inviting you to become part of that long line of audiences, to have your own unique experience with this truly timeless art.
So, we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. If an art form never, ever changes, can it still speak to a world that's always changing? I mean, that refusal to change is what makes Noh so special. It's this fixed point, a direct link to a past that's hundreds of years old. But does that make it just a relic? Or does that incredible permanence actually give it an even more powerful voice today? Something solid in our fast-moving world? Well, that's something for you to decide.